Hey guys, it's Marissa, KitchenTableStamper.com. I am here with the Ringed with Nature Stamp-A-Stack. There are optional class packets. There's a limited supply of these in the Kitchen Table Stamper store while supplies last. We are stamping a stack with Ringed with Nature. So in the packet, if you're interested, you can have the embellishments that you need: brushed brass butterflies, iridescent gems, the suede ribbon. If you haven't tried this faux suede ribbon, it's really cool texture. Linen thread. There's two kinds of designer series paper in here. There's a quarter of a package of Ringed with Love and an eighth of a package of the Gingham Cottage, 2 each of all the 6x6 designs. Your card kits for 8 cards, 2 each of 4 designs, and then the card stock that you'll need for your tree rings and for your botanicals. So everything that you see there is included, and it makes 8 awesome cards. This is the one we're going to make in today's video. This is video number 2 out of 4 in our series. If you missed the first video, I'll link it below. This Get Well Soon was video number 1. Look at those awesome watercolor sprigs and then all the textures of those embellishments, the twine, the suede, the brass, the iridescent. Love that card. This is design number 2, Thinking of You. Look at those cool watercolor mushrooms. Don't they look awesome with that Ringed with Love designer series paper? Video number 3 will be this happy anniversary card. And the 4th video in the series is this Thinking of You design. All right, let's get to work on this card. The first thing we're going to do is our embossing and our hybrid embossing. We're going to first emboss our card base, because then we can go through each stage of what this tool does. So this is, in your kit, you'll find your card bases. They are 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. And we're going to emboss the front. Now this is a 3D embossing folder, and we're going to need our number 1 and number 4. Now, here's how I recommend doing this. If this makes you uncomfortable, cut a 4 by 5 1/4 panel, emboss it, and stick it to the front of your card. But if you're careful and you want this edge-to-edge embossed look, then you'll want to lay your folder on number 1, the platform, slide the card base through, and then square up these edges before you even add number 4 over the top. Make sure that the edge of your embossing folder is not hanging over the edge of number 1, and check that on both sides. All right, when you are sure that you've got that, then you can grab number 4, and you're going to put that over the top, and you're going to square up again. Then you're going to push the sandwich towards the machine until you see that the handle's ready to engage. You're going to check that there's no way that your embossing folder on either side of the machine is going to scrape on the edge of the machine. You want to make sure that there's some clearance there. Once you're sure that there is, then proceed to turn the handle and crank it through. You're going to want to do that very carefully if you're embossing the full card front. It's an awesome design option, but you do have to handle with care, because if this edge of your folder goes along the machine and scrapes the edge of the machine, you're going to shear that fold off, rendering this useless. So if that makes you uncomfortable, first slow down, think about what you're doing, and take your time. If that makes you uncomfortable, cut a sheet that's 4 1/4 by 5, emboss that, and then glue it to the front of the card. I love the full look. Now this Stamp-A-Stack makes 8 cards. Go ahead and emboss all 8 card fronts right now. Now let's do our second stage. The second stage is an emboss and cut. So we've got our dies here, and we're concerned right now with this big one. We're gonna grab our embossing folder and we're gonna lay this one inside. All right, we've got that. Now we're going to add some soft suede card over that. And for this Stamp Stack, we're not going to use the smallest little ring right here. So when you're placing your card, you want to make sure that you're covering the other rings. All right, got that. Looks good. Everything's covered. We can close the folder. And we can place number 4 over the top. All right, now we've got our embossing folder in there with the fold first. We're gonna give a crank. And now we're gonna get embossed and cut. Now we're gonna do the wood layer. Let's pull this out of here and take a look at what we've got. So now we've got the little wood rings. Now we're going to build all of our wood slices at one time, and we're going to build 2 of each. Let's go ahead and slide these aside and pull in our sample. We're gonna do a landscape card. And for this one, we're using our largest wood slice, so we can set these others aside. If you're doing the Stamp Stack, it makes 2 of these designs, so do everything in duplicate, or even better, if you're doing the Stamp Stack, do everything and stages and batch work the whole set of cards. So you're gonna cut your designer series papers for this one. The Ringed with Love designer series paper is 2.5 by 4.5, and the gingham is 7/8 by 5.25. Let's go ahead and adhere those to the card front. I love the liquid glue for this, but you can also use your Seal Plus, or if you're still using Fast Fuse. I love Fast Fuse, and I just found some in the closet recently that'll hold something that's got a good strong hold, because this 3D embossed card front has got a lot of texture. Let's put this one a little bit low of center and then centered right to left. And then we'll grab our gingham. You could use either gingham. I'm using the small side. I think either will do. And then we're going to put that one across, centered right to left, maybe a little less than 1/4 of an inch of the Ringed with Love designer series paper peeking out. I'm going to add this tree ring on also and put that on with some liquid glue. I love it. Now let's do some die cutting. We're going to take some white cardstock, and I have some scraps here. If you're doing the Stamp Stack, you've got some 8.5 by 5.5 sheets. We're going to die cut our mushrooms and botanicals. Let me show you this. I'll share this photograph with you. And what we did was, so that if you want your cards exactly like mine, each of these sprigs and branches is just a little bit different than the other, especially the ones that we call D, E, F, and G. So if you're doing the Stamp Stack, you'll take your white cardstock and cut A through H and the quantity. That'll give you all 8 cards. So for this one, we need to cut 2 mushroom caps, 1 because the stems produce 2. And then we need to do D and G. All right, so let's grab some white cardstock and we're going to cut those. Got my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine right here. You're gonna have to run a second pass to get this second mushroom cap. I love the look that we are going to achieve here by cutting our botanicals from white cardstock and then giving them like a watercolor wash look using Stampin' Blends. Let me show you. If you're having any trouble getting the die cuts out of the dies, you can grab a low tack tape, hold the die, pull the tape, it'll take the little die cut right out. No picking or scratching. Let's start with our branch and our sprig here. We're going to use soft suede and parakeet party. I'm going to start with the soft suede. I'm going to do light soft suede and dark soft suede. The light soft suede, I'm going to swipe over the branch section of the sprig and the branch section of the branch with the dark using the brush tip. Then I'm going to go back down one side. So I'm going to choose the left side because it's easy to keep that consistent. Your eye is going to look for consistency in the shadows. So if you just pick a side and stick with it, it is the simplest way to do blending and shadows. So we've done some soft suede dark using the bullet tip down the left side. And then we'll just swipe with the light brush tip to blend those shadows into the first coat of light ink. Now we've got this gorgeous kind of watercolor look. You can cut these out with solid color cardstock and get a totally different effect. It's just a really versatile die set and a fun technique to try and learn. So now we're going to do the leaves, parakeet party, and I've got the light parakeet party here. I'm going to take the dark and go up from the stem, kind of up one side of the leaf. I'm going with the outer edge for this one, and then I'll very softly just touch those two together. Same thing for the big leaves on this one. We're going to go light and give it a good cover, good coverage. Hold the branch while you color the leaves, then swipe up from the branch on the outer edge of the leaf and just bring them together with the light. Very cool. Look at these branches. They're just so much fun with the look of the watercolor in the designer series paper. Fun technique. I can't wait for you to try it. Do this Stampin' Stack with me. All right, let's switch to our mushrooms, and I've done one ahead. We're going to do the other one for demonstration. My colors for this one are Crumb Cake and Poppy Parade. And then I have the retired Stampin' Up! Chalk marker. If you've got a white gel pen or a chalk marker, grab that too, because that little highlights on the mushroom cap is really gonna make all the difference. I'm gonna do my stems with the light crumb cake, and when you're doing an area like this and you're doing a full coverage, you can first swipe the color on your stamp or on your, you can first swipe the color on your cardstock, cut the colored cardstock, and then go back and add the shadows like we just did. Same with the mushroom caps. So you can take a large section, large enough to cut all your mushroom caps for all your projects, color it with the light Poppy Parade, die cut the cap, then go back, you've die cut it, it's Poppy Parade, but it's flat, it's just one color, right? And now we're gonna watch the shadows. So the shadows are down the right side of this stem, so we want the shadows down the right side of this cap. We can draw on the shadow and then blend where those two come together. And that is another way to do that. Now let's give that a second to dry before we come in with our chalk marker and add the little details. While that's drying, let's stamp our greeting. If you've got the packet, then you'll have two copies of this card, and we've gone ahead and cut your banner for you. This banner is the wide, long, pierced banner from the Stylish Shapes dies. We cut that from Basic White, and we're going to stamp our greeting in Evening Evergreen. Here I have Evening Evergreen and Soft Suede. Let's get our greeting. The greeting is going to go far to the left. We want to have room for the little house and montage of botanicals. Thinking of you. Love, love, love. All right, well, we've got the ink pads open. Let's grab some more Basic White. We're gonna stamp the house. And I like to do the house and then line up the roof. It's easier for me that way. So we're gonna stamp an Evening Evergreen house. And then we're going to stamp the roof using Soft Suede ink. Let's make sure we get really good coverage. Got a photopolymer stamp here so we can see that it's inked really well. And then we're going to line it up. And you don't want to see any gap above the house, between the house and the roof stamp. That should leave you just a pretty thin little even line that separates the two. Almost like the outline of the doors or windows. All right, let's clear away the ink pads and cut this out. I'm gonna fussy cut this little house, and what I'm gonna do is just kind of wobble cut around and leave a white line. The outline of the windows is white, the outline between the roof and the house is white, and so it's pretty natural to just have a skinny little white border all the way around it. When I fussy cut something like this, I open and close the scissors with my dominant hand, but you'll notice that my non-dominant hand is driving the paper, so it wobbles it into the scissors. My dominant hand might cooperate, but it does not drive. We don't hack it out with our dominant hand. We actually kind of finesse the fussy cutting with our non-dominant hand. All right, there's our house. Let's bring our sample back in. Our little mushroom cap should be dry enough to add some little white highlights. Now there's already on this die set embossed 3 little dots. And there's a texture on the mushroom stem, like a ribbed texture. There's a bark texture on the sprig and the branch, and there's a vein texture on the leaf. The dies cut out the shape while impressing the details in. And when you swipe over with that marker, you really have layers of detail because you've got the bark texture and the veins along with that watercolor look wash that you did with the Stampin' Blends. Really, really fun technique. I hope that you'll incorporate it into lots of projects. All right, let's slide this over and get our greeting on. I need some liquid glue. We're gonna add that one just right over where the Designer Series papers meet. It's gonna go across the Designer Series paper and the wood slice. Now it's time for our embellishments. You're gonna need about 7 inches of suede ribbon here. So we're gonna fold this, and we want enough to go all the way across our wood slice, but not off the edge of the card. Like I said, it's about 7 inches or so. We're gonna cut that angle cut and then bring in our linen thread and tie it up with a bow. I like to work right off the card if I can do it, because then there's no waste. So we've got this end attached to the card. We're going to wrap around the suede, and about 3/8 of an inch down, we're going to tie and secure a loop. All right, so we've got a loop. We're going to swoop, tuck, and pull. Now we've got a gorgeous suede ribbon tied up with a natural rustic twine. And let's give it a nice tail. We can get that on there with some glue dots or maybe some tear and tape. I like to secure this one down a little bit better. If you watched the first video, we left it a little loose so that we could tuck botanical elements behind the ribbon. But this time we're going to run the house over it. So let's go ahead and pick up 3 or 4 little mini glue dots along the back of this little ribbon majig. And tuck those glue dots under, or you could do a little strip of tear and tape and lay it right in the tear and tape. I'm going to put that above. And right here, I want to clean up the first edge. Just a nice clean cut. I love that ribbon with all the different textures we have going on here and the watercolor botanical look. Just too cool. Let's get some dimensionals on the back of our house. We can pop that right up. And that's going to go just above the thinking of you. It's going to pop a little bit above our wood slice. So cool. Our mushrooms and branches are next. Let's get those. Now I'm going to put my branches on with a combination of liquid and dimensional adhesive. And I'm going to put my mushrooms on with dimensional. So I'm going to take this little bit that I got going on here. You can see I'm cutting it kind of shaggy. We're going to take the halves and put them on the back of the caps. And then I'm going to take the little strip that we've got started here from the edge of our dimensionals, and we're going to finish that up because I think we're going to use most of it. Cut some small rectangles for the back of your stem, and then hold on to this little strip because we're going to cut it up to give our branches some lift. So first dimensional on the stems. Now we're going to do our branches first and then bring our mushrooms in on top, but we'll make sure our mushrooms are all sticky and ready to go. Go ahead and peel those and then watch where you drag your sleeve. If I can't find a piece that I expose the adhesive, the first place I check is my sleeve. All right, so the mushrooms are all sticky. Let's take our liquid glue and our sprig. We're going to add a little bit of glue at the very base of the sprig. Bring that up along the bottom here, kind of watching the placement so that it doesn't cover too much of our greeting. A little bit at the base of the branch. We can make those kind of crisscross. Then what we'll do is bring in our little mushroom caps, and we're going to pop those where we want them to land. Then we'll put the stems. So the caps kind of determine the placement. The last thing we're going to do in this little montage is take that strip and cut, I don't know, 3 or 4 little bits of dimensional, and we're going to put those behind the leaves of our sprigs to give them some lift. So the branch is down flat, but oh, look, I have 2 different branches. See? So we did a little chart for you so you could do yours exactly like mine. And I still managed to grab the wrong branch. I still think it looks great though. So the sprig was right, but my branch was wrong. Oh, you just can't go wrong with these though. That's the moral of the story. So just take a look at the picture, take a look at the list, cut your pieces and color them, and then let it be what it is, because it all looks so good. Of course, it's going to look even better when we get some of those iridescent gems and brushed brass butterflies on. All right, so I've put a little bit of dimensional on 4 of the leaves. It's down flat in the center and then lifts at the edges. I love that effect. All right, the last and final step here is the crunchy embellishments. I've got brushed brass butterflies and iridescent gems here. Might take your pick tool. And of course, you can do these however you like, but I went for a mix of all the sizes. I'm going to put a large one and 2 small ones kind of down low. And we're looking for kind of a triangle placement is going to be attractive to the eye. And then we're going to take a medium one and, oh, my little twine is kind of in the way where I want to put it, a medium and a small one going upward. So we've got kind of a diagonal going on there. And then we're gonna add some brushed brass butterflies, kind of floating up from our mushroom montage. And there is our Thinking of You card, design number 2, and the Ringed with Nature Stamp-A-Stack class. This class packet makes 8 cards, 4 designs. This was video number 2. I'll see you in video number 3, where we'll make this happy anniversary card. If you have questions about the Stamp-A-Stack, the projects, anything I can do to help you stay crafty, email marissa@kitchentablestamper.com to check and see if we have the Ringed with Nature Stamp-A-Stack class packet left in the Kitchen Table Stamper store. You can buzz over to kitchentablestamper.com/shop. And when you get there, on the right-hand side, there's a little filter. Click it, highlight class packets, and you'll see what class packets are available. And to shop Stampin' Up! 24/7, buzz over to marissaelvarez.stampinup.net. You should pick up this Ringed with Nature bundle in the hybrid folder, and while it's available. It's really awesome product. I hope you're enjoying the series. I'll see you in video number 3. Thanks for watching.